And welcome everyone to week 4 here of Coalition League's summer split. Thank you for bearing with us while we are having a bit of technical difficulties, but we're in now with Vengeful Reapers versus MG Nitro here in the Noxus division. I'm Random Minion Caster, and casting alongside me for tonight is going to be Angelic Poro. How are you doing, Poro?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me this time around.
For sure, for sure. And now the teams are getting ready to get into Pro Draft for now, but they're not quite in yet. And in the meantime, we've got a beautiful new overlay here for our Champ Select, done for us by Ishan. Thank you very much for that. And in other news as well, we've had a major patch this week as well in League of Legends.
Yeah, that major patches definitely affect a lot of champions, especially aiming towards Aphelios, which is just quite a monster once he gets his Chakram and Death's Dance. So, and it also affects a lot of other champions around top lane, mid lane that builds Death's Dance. As for Aphelios, it's quite something because he no longer gets an epic monsters reset, and he also doesn't do quite as much damage as before. What's your take on this with the nurse on Aphelios and Death Dance?
I mean, for sure, those were definitely massive. I thought this was dominating pro play in the last couple of weeks for Coalition League. I don't know if it necessarily will have a huge impact here. Not a lot of players playing Aphelios. I do believe we saw a bit of Aphelios in the Silver Division in week 3, but not a lot of it. Death's Dance, so that's going to be a huge one here because a lot of the players are using Death Dance. I think we're averaging about 2.5 Death Dance per team per game in the last couple of weeks. So with that reduction for specifically ranged champions, I'm thinking we'll probably see a little less of that, especially in the bot lane, and that might affect the Graves jungle that we've seen quite a bit of as well. It's a very core item on that Graves, but having that reduced efficiency on that shielding, on the delayed damage, might mean we don't see quite as much Graves in the jungle for the next little while.
Well, I wouldn't quite say that because Graves, yes, it definitely does hurt Graves quite a bit, but he still definitely needs the red smite. If he doesn't have the red smite, it's gonna be so hard for him to get back into the game if he does get behind. And with the 20% going down to 10%, if I believe, it is gonna hurt him quite a bit if he doesn't take the red smite, which is reduced damage.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely the skirmishers are probably going to be a bit of a difference there for the Graves, and might not be that big a deal. We'll definitely have to see on that one as well. I'm trying to think here. I don't think Noise plays that much Graves, and on the side of MG Nitro for tonight, there is a bit of change up in their roster. They are using an E substitute, a throw guard in the jungle. So I'm not that familiar with his champion pool here. I don't know if he will be pulling up a Graves. I believe he seems to be a Nidalee Olaf sort of a one trick here, so don't think it will affect them that much. And there's also a substitute in the support position. It will be MG Exact playing for them in the support rather than their usual. I believe it's Pikebots was supposed to be their new starting support player here.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Exact will play. We haven't seen him yet in this season since he just came on to, I believe it was ESUB, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was just he was registered on the roster previously, but this will be
Oh,
his
okay.
first time that we'll be seeing him here in the league. So or in the summer split. So definitely will be
Mhm.
very different here from what we've seen of MG Nitro in the past. And speaking of that, if we look at these two teams head to head right now in the Noxus division, they are actually fairly similar in terms of their standings here. Both of them won one, lost two thus far, and the team that they both beat was Glacial Inferno here. The teams they both actually lost to seven men at this point, and then I believe it was for the side of Vengeful Reapers. They also lost to Exnol, and MG Nitro lost to, I believe it was, who was the other one they lost to? Let me see here. They lost to Seven Men as well. So both of them lost to Seven Men actually. So really, really similar head-to-heads right now for both teams. So this match is going to be important in terms of seeing how they pan out as well. Now we do start seeing the picks and bans start up here in the pro draft.
Hmm. Yeah, the first band Nidalee just coming out already. It's something that I haven't quite seen too much of lately. Nidalee not being known for being meta right now, but still really, really, really strong right now,
Yeah,
regardless if she's in the meta or not.
for sure. And that again, that was targeted specifically at a throw guard. He plays a lot of Nidoey, a lot of Olaf, and I think that's why we're seeing the two bans there coming out against a throw guard right away here, just to make sure that he doesn't get those champions. And beyond that, I'm really not familiar with what else a throw guard plays in the jungle. So we'll have will be interesting to see how his team adapts to that.
Right, just his two main junglers are already gone, like right there, and they're manning out Trundle, which is probably one of the easier jungles to play, and that's really gonna affect him because we don't really see too much jungle variety coming out from a throw guard.
Yeah, and I'm also kind of wondering what the Trundle ban is for here. MG Nitro not really known to play a lot of tanks. Only Luis in the top lane likes to play aggressive, like to play bruisers more than straight tanks. So not a lot of tanks to shred through, but I guess they just don't want to see it come out there. And there's the Galio and the Kiana bans coming out as well for both teams there.
Yeah, Kiana, the champion that still does quite a bit, even being nerfed quite a bit. It's still devastating to have, but we might see a Darius here, which will definitely mean that he could be popping off in this game, but we will still have to see.
For sure, and Darius in the top lane has been very strong across a lot of the leagues here, and especially for Vengeful Reaper. It can be. We've seen Microthorn really take over games on that Darius before. He's listed as a mid laner, but him and Jason KB are known to flex their positions a lot between the top and the mid lane. So that could be a Darius for Microthorn in the top lane, or we could see Jason try and play it there as well.
Right? Yeah, we could definitely see lane swap, which but we haven't seen too much of it recently. But I'm interested to see if they do swap it up. That would definitely add some spice to it and a lot of other stuff that we may have not seen in this split so far. And we do see the Tristana being picked up for either Jerusalem or Microthorn. Really good solo laner, extraordinarily well great team fighter,
Yeah, for
and just
sure. They
yeah,
could.
interested to see if Tristana just goes balls in deep or just stays in the back and tries to do everything and would save rocket jump to escape.
Yeah, and with that Alistar for JD in the bot lane as well. JD is one of the few players to play Alistar. I believe he played it all three games, all his games last week as well for Vengeful Reapers. So with the paired with the Tristana, they can definitely get very, very aggressive, especially into a Thresh, into a Vayne. JD can afford to body block with the Alistar all the hooks there.
Hmm. Yeah, Alistar just being that really, really solid engage and really good peel. It's just the matter of fact if Vayne can condemn Alistar away from engaging, or it can just shred Alistar as fast as possible.
Yeah, and actually, Alistar's Unbreakable Will there, one of the best counters to true damage. So we'll help reduce some of the damage coming out of Vayne as well. And we see the other bans coming out now for both teams. The Kassadin and LeBlanc for Vengeful Reapers, both targeted at Piglet, and Piglet has been playing that Kassadin a lot, and it scales really well. We've seen him use it to great effect, so I'm liking those. Nitro's Hecarim and Diana bans. Diana was targeted at the jungle here for Noise because he's the one who's been playing that Diana, picking it quite early actually in week two or week one, and playing it in the jungle there for his team.
Right, and we do see that Jarvan did get picked up. Not sure how it will work into this team comp. I guess they're just gonna go balls to the walls and try to go for fights non-stop. But we do see a Nivea, so that's probably gonna be a Nivea mid. And Nico, where's it? So what's this? Darius
Oh,
jungle?
okay. So the Anivia was supposed to be a Nico. It looks like there was a error. So
Um,
that's a Nico.
makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, Nivea really wouldn't have worked into this team comp So good to know that this definitely was a Nico. And with Echo, it definitely provides a lot of confusion around the map, especially if you do have a Fed member on your team. Just transfer him to them, and then you just scare off your entire enemy team.
Yeah, for sure. Like you can just fake them out, or you can even fake to be a squishy or a tank instead, just to make yourself look far less attractive at target. And we see the echo pickup there for
Hmm.
Noise in the jungle. It is a champion that he's played a lot in the jungle. And for Nitro, a throw guard doesn't play that much J4, but I think it's still a really, really solid pick for him here. Synergizes really well with the team, with the Oriana from Piglet as well. They've got that ball delivery system into the Cataclysm. So it's a really safe jungle pick. And J4, not a hard jungler to pick up either. So even if you're not the most proficient on him, you still probably be pretty decent on him.
Right? Yeah, just Jarvan, one of the easiest champions that you have on the board, as alongside Trundle. But if you do have solid mechanics, you can play Jarvan at a really easy level or a really proficient level. It's just a matter of fact how you use that flash mechanic with Jarvan, or if you see certain openings as you play the champion.
Oh, for sure. And we'll have to see which way that one goes for a throw guard here, because Noise is also a very aggressive jungler as well. So if he's not proficient on it, if he's not showing that mastery of Jarvan, he might find himself getting run over in the jungle a little bit by the whole Vengeful Reapers. And Vengeful Reapers also a very aggressive team as well. They like to fight a lot, and so yeah, the Nico pickup with the Echo makes a lot of sense. They can roam together really well. And JD on the Alistair, we've seen him roam a lot with it as well. Go into the mid lane, start picking fights early. So I'm expecting to see Vengeful Reapers sort of be the proactive early game compared to MG Nitro, where Piglet in the mid lane tends to be a more passive laner looking to scale into the late game instead. And I think we'll have to pay a lot of attention to the bot lane for MG Nitro, because that's where they are known to carry out of. Yoctibot, as the ADC player, often is the focus of their team, is the one to come in big at the end of the game. And with a champion like Vayne, that's a playmaking champion, the highlight reel champion. So I think Yoctibot will have to sort of step it up for MG Nitro here to really carry this game.
Yeah, MG Nitro. Hopefully, you do see quite a lot of team fights that's gonna be basically winning right off the bat first within the first couple of seconds. But again, you gotta respect Vengeful Reaper's team comp. You have the Echo that can get to the backline, just one shot Vayne, and you do have a lot of disengage along with Alistar and Nico. So if they do try to plan on that, it's gonna be really hard for MG Nitro to penetrate the backlines or even just to survive along the brute force of Darius and Tristana.
Yeah, no, for sure. Vengeful Reapers has a really solid comp, and they've got good late game skilling with that Tristana as well. Normally, Vayne is known as that late game hyper carry, that absolute monster. But into an Alistar, into a Tristana, Tristana too is an absolute monster in the late game as well. So we'll be able to match the damage being put out by Octibone. And with the Alistar, it means that if you're trying to reach that Tristana, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. And if we do get hit by the Pulverize, do get CC'd for a while there, we could easily see Drizzle just burst down Yoctibot before he can get there and kill the carries in the backline.
Yeah, that's the thing. But Vayne, just being the champion that is not really known for being like a 1v5 champion, it's really, really hard to like actually say how will Vayne scale into this game and how will Vayne play.
Yeah, and a lot of it will just come down to how good the mobility is, whether Yoctibot can dodge out a lot of these skill shots. Because with the Echo, with the Nico, with the Darius, if you're in range to get hit by any of that, you'll probably get CC'd straight to death. And Vayne is a very squishy champion. And MG Nitro has the tools to back up that Vayne, though. I mean, you've got the ball delivery system as well. Renekton and J4 are not just going to stand around while Vayne's going in. You're going to see only Louise on that Renekton. You're going to see a throw guard on that J4 just diving in, trying to cause as much chaos in the backline as they can, basically. Or Well, I don't know how much of a backline there really is. It's really only Tristana here. Everybody else on the side of Vengeful Reapers wants to get into the midst of that fight. Nico's ultimate is not the longest ranged here. Echo also not known to be is a melee champion alongside Darius as well. So yeah, I think it's just going to be really bloody brawls here from both teams. And if anything, MG Nitro is the team that really needs to watch the positioning for the Orianna, for the Vayne.
Right, and definitely a champion that you have to look after because if the Cataclysm plus Shockwave, it's quite devastating if you align the key targets. Um, but then again, their positioning, if they go too all in, it's definitely gonna hurt them quite a lot. Um, that is definitely one of the downfalls I'm recognizing quite early on. They just go all in. The only person that can actually stay back, Thresh and Vayne. Oriana maybe, but she really needs the ball onto Jarvan. And if she doesn't get that shockwave onto their enemy team, the key targets, it's basically the team fight's basically pretty much over for MG Nitro. And you definitely can say the same thing about Vengeful Reapers with their team comp.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically who's going to AoE harder, I think, in a lot of these massive team fights. But if the AoEs don't land and it becomes just a full-out chaotic mess, then that's where Yachty on the Vayne will get his chance to sort of shine there and just skirt around the fight, kite everyone out,
Mhm.
and try and kill all the carries, all the tanks, anything really, because a Vayne will kill anything given enough time. And I just want to point out as well, you can see here that it is going to be a lane swap. It's going to be Jason KB taking the Nico, Darius, Microthorn on that Darius, and that was kind of what I expected when I did see the Darius and Nico pickups here for the team. And I think that's going to make top lane a very big point of contention here for only Louise and Microthorn, because both of them do play to win their lane and can take over a game through the top lane as well. So a lot of focus is going to be in that top and bot lane. In the mid lane, I think it's going to be a bit more static, and it will be based a lot more on jungle pressure. I think rather than seeing Jason KB and MG Piglet fight a lot in the mid lane, I think we're going to see them roam a lot with the support of their junglers to look for those 3v3s, those 5v5s.
But yeah, with all the chaotic mess that can happen, um, there's also a chance that Drizzle can just pop off, also just totally annihilate Bone. And you do have that sort of champion if it does turn into chaotic mess. You have Microthon on the Darius. You have the Tristana with Drizzle. You have all sorts of champions that just goes well into a chaotic mess. The real question is who can play the team fight better and who can play it much cleaner than the me team. That's definitely gonna be the real question here.
And with these two teams, I'm sure that will be a question that should be answered quite quickly. Both teams love to fight, love to brawl as well. So definitely something I'm sure we'll find out fairly quickly. And with that, we are starting to hit
Hmm.
into game here. So we are going to hit
As
to
we load up into the Rift, is there any points that we want to quickly go over before the game starts?
I think we've covered it all for now. So I'm just going to quickly head over to the to intermission screen while we set that up, and we should be back within a minute. And with that, we're back on Summer's Rift. Really, really short intermission this time because, yeah, we had plenty to talk about before this game. So once again, on the blue side, it's going to be Vengeful Reapers with Jason KB, pardon me, Microthorn in the top lane, Noise in the jungle, Jason KB in the mid lane, Drizzle ADC, and JD Leon in as the support. On the red side, it's going to be MG Nitro, only Louise on the Renekton in the top lane, a throw guard in the jungle, MG Piglet as the mid laner, Yoctibot as ADC, and MG Exact as support.
Right, yeah. just a lot of these players definitely been playing around with each other for, I want to say, a couple months now, if not even longer. And as you can see, they already know their stuff. They know where to line up. They know where to stand in the beginning. And the question is now, who of the two teams is the key point to winning this game, or will be the shining star of these two teams?
Yeah, and traditionally for the side of MG Nitro, the key to their winning the games and the primary carry has been Yoctibot in that bot lane. So that's where I'd be focusing on if as MG Nitro try and get some ganks down there early. You've got a J4, really strong level 2, level 3 ganks as well, against an Alistar, not very mobile, against a Tristana, who is very strong early, but is very squishy, could potentially get bursted down. So I'd be looking for MG Nitro to focus that bot lane. And if you're the side of Vengeful Reapers here, you actually have quite a few options. Any of your lanes can really pop off and take over a game here. If you give Microthorn the edge in that 1v1, we've seen him absolutely just dominate. If you get Jason KB ahead on that Nico, we could potentially see them just win out all the team fights in the mid game. And if you get Drizzle hit on Tristana, you've got yourself a skilling hyper carry in the late game as well.
Yeah, as you said, the main people that you have to look out for during this game, as we watch on, definitely Yoctibot, maybe Piglet, if he gets quite ahead. And as we already seen, there's already a little bit of damage going on onto JD Leon.
Yeah, and we did see MG Nitro's bot lane hit level 2 first as well, so despite how tanky an Alistar is, JD is going to just have to back right off of that, wait for their own level 2 before they can look for an engage. But I do favor the Vengeful Reaper's bot lane in the early levels, because Vayne needs a bit of time to scale up, whereas Tristana, very, very strong in those early levels with the explosive shot and rocket jump burst that can come out there.
Right, and what the flash and coming up from a JD Leon, but damn, it doesn't quite do much. And perfect timing coming out from MG. Zach, the flash comes in, and the ignite will be the first blood. Yes, it will. Yoctibot are getting that extra 500 gold immediately in the game. However, we do see a root coming out onto Orianna. Now, Renekton getting pulled back in, but Microthorn won't pursue the chase. Now Noise is in a bad situation. He has no HP. He's gonna have to get this one out, or get out of here. But MG Piglet is there. Now, Flag and Strike, yes, it lands, and Noise will be the one to fall.
Yeah, and that was just a good rotation here from MG Nitro on that top side. They were chasing Noise, and MG Piglet rotated past the Jason.
Yeah, Microthorn trying to take a 2v1 here, but not sure what he was trying to do. He does have his 5 stack of hemorrhaging, but he gets knocked up, misses his Q, and it's just a matter of time if he falls or not. If he falls and stun, only Lewis will be the only one to get Darius.
And that was such a close play from both top laners there. Both of them getting really low. That really could have swung either way. Microthorn almost picking up the kill onto a throw guard there. And just as I praised them for that coordination that they had in the chasing after Noise in the jungle there, they showed a little bit of miscommunication in that top side, because throw guard and only Luis split up. A throw guard going in, only Luis backing out, and that could have ended really poorly, but that still nets them a 3-kill lead for now, and that's a 1,500 gold just before 5 minutes, which is absolutely massive for them.
Right, you really don't see this quite often anymore, and with an organization such as MG, at this point, you might as well expect this type of gameplay that comes out from this organization. They've been around for a while, and as we just already seen, the performance on these teams coming in from MG Nitro from last split and this split, it's already been amazing.
Yeah, last split we had MG Blaze, this split MG Nitro. Very different rosters, but similar playstyle.
And only Lewis. Wow, that is a lot of damage for Tiamat. However, Microthorn is to do more. Wow, that is a lot of damage. I didn't even realize he had Hail Blades.
Yeah, getting those stacks on. Once he hits 6, there's going to be a lot of kill pressure. And another thing to note was that only Luis opted for the Ignite, the aggressive summoner in that top lane. It did get him a kill, but he doesn't have teleport now, so will not be able to just back up and get back to lane right away. He's going to be put in a really tough choice when Microthorn hits 6, whether he wants to stick around and risk getting dunked on, or whether he's going to back off and lose a ton of CS.
That is definitely the key because sure, he does have healing with his Q, but it really doesn't do all that much. If you think about it, it only gives him around like 70 HP. Microphone already dragging him back in, and now there definitely is kill pressure. But the slice and dice is able to slice him out of danger.
And only Luis has to be really careful here because he can easily get executed. Microthorn did hit 6. I'm actually a little bit surprised he didn't try and go in for the kill there. I think the bleed alone might have been able to take him up, but even if he didn't do it, then he is going to force only Luis to have to play really carefully, and he still hasn't hit 6 yet on the Renekton.
Only Luis, the champion is just not too good, especially if you're not going for the Bork build early on. But then again, you really need to build pretty much tanky early on against Darius, and if you don't, it's really, really tough to fight Darius early on.
I'm liking this adaptation from NG Nitro. They're rushing straight over to the Dragon, and it's an Inferno Drake as well. So it will be a really good pickup for them in lane.
Yeah, but Inferno Blaze, talk about statistically, one of the dragons is Inferno is not all that worthwhile to go for early on. Statistically, it's been Ocean or I believe it's Mountain, and those two drakes as the first drake is always been a game decider.
Yeah, definitely Ocean often considered the most influential of the first drakes there. Mountain, much like Inferno, requires a bit more stacking, but only Luis might go down here. Didn't even have to use the guillotine.
Yeah, just a misreading on the situation. Just only Luis thinking that he already back, but as we saw there, Microthorn is able to net himself a profit of 1 kill, and now Exact just unfortunately gets caught out, and he has to pay for his life.
And it's the age-old story of supports here. I was just trying to ward, and next thing you know, they're dead. I mean, it was a good attempt for a roam from MG Exact, roaming all the way up to that top side there, but it's just unfortunate that he got caught out, got killed, had no support as well, and this does mean a possible Herald take. It looks like they will be able to take it easy here for the side of Vengeful Reapers. They're going to be able to answer back that dragon that they lost earlier.
Yeah, it's not too bad actually. Definitely a free, 2 plates? And that basically puts them back into the game. They're only like 400 gold down. They pop the Herald. They're basically neutral on gold.
Yeah, for sure. And Herald is usually more beneficial in the early game than the Drakes, unless you've got the Ocean Drake here, because Drakes take a bit of time. They have permanent buffs here and scale better into the game, but in the early game, when you're just looking for straight gold off those plates, looking for first turret and trying to crack the map open, Herald is by far the more valuable objective. So we'll have to see where Noise wants to drop that here to try and make a play. Top lane would be a great option, especially with Microthorn getting a lead. He can continue to extend that lead in an extended lane.
Right, yeah, that lead. Definitely, if you were to try something soon, it has to be around in 1 or 2 minutes, possibly, considering how the situation is becoming so dire quickly on. And they already popped a top lane, not my favorite to use right now. Sure, it's free 2 plates, 160 gold, but it's not all too worth it, if you were to ask me.
Yeah, and unfortunately the Herald does scale over time, so the longer the game goes when you drop it, the more damage it does on turrets as well. We have seen quite a trend here in the Coalition League to sort of drop Heralds really early here, and it does apply pressure, it does give you an advantage, but...
wait a second, but only Luis is already going to all in, but he's gonna have to pop his all just to survive, but the engage from only Luis, he should have respected more from Microthorn, but I guess not. He just thought he could take the fight and get a free kill.
That's
Oh,
just
he's coming back
suicidal.
once again, and yup, he has to trade one more for a couple of CS.
And you just got to question what he was thinking when he went back in there. He was low on health. He already used his Fear of the Sands, had no more health available. And he knows how much bleed damage, not to mention the Sheen as well on Microthorn, gives him quite a huge burst.
Oh, but MG Piglet, Shockwave is back in, and he gets killed, but JD flashes on top of himself. Not sure he was doing there, but I guess it nets them of net profit of a flash, and now a throw guard is getting very low noise. He used to play this. Oh, that's so tragic.
Was
Just
almost
well
a highlight reel play there for Noise. Unfortunately, just couldn't quite find Throgar before he flashed away. And this is what I expect from Vengeful Reapers. They are a very aggressive team. They constantly want to fight. Even when they're behind, this is how they get back into games. And unfortunately, it's just not working out for them right now when they're trying to do this and they're all split up. People going in one after another. Drizzle just wanted a farm right there. So Noise really had no backup going in against 3.
Yeah, interesting enough, now I'm looking at it, Jarvan has Tiamat and Caulfield's Warhammer, so I'm definitely not going to be going the traditional tanky Cinderhulk version of Jarvan. As we already seen in that team fight, he gets chunked easily, but he does quite a bit of damage onto the squishy members of Vengeful Reapers. I'm just interested to see how it will scale in this game. Oh, the rocket jump was cancelled, and now JD is all the way in the backline. Now Drizzle is the one to fall from a throw guard, but now they're in a bad situation. There's two of them. Flash from Nico, Jason KB. He's got to pop his ult, but doesn't activate all the way, and now that's basically gonna be a free kill for MG Nitro. That's gonna be a clean ace for them if they are gonna be able to get this one. Exact is chasing after it, and the hook doesn't land, so it's gonna be a 4-4-1.
They can get this.
That will be a 5-for-1, but at what cost? They lose quite a bit of time. They could have just went onto the dragon and would accelerate the game much faster.
Yeah, I mean, there was some cost in chasing like that. The fact that Exact opted to throw that death sentence instead of just chasing down, using the empowered auto attack from the play passive there, will cost a bit of time, but not too bad, because we did see Yoctibo fall back, start up the dragon alone, was able to take it down really quickly. And only Luis in the top side just kept pushing as well. Managed to get 2 plates in that top wave, so still will find themselves a significant advantage, and they're suddenly up 4,000 gold here. So MG Nitro really accelerating the pace of the game here, making sure they continue to find themselves objectives and they don't just stall out into the late game.
Yeah, definitely. Taking 2 plates off top lane, since he doesn't have TP, he definitely has to try something. And that something was just getting a couple plates, and that couple plates could eventually lead to more damage overall in the late game, and just bringing him closer back to the gold deficit he was in.
Yeah, and as you said, he's still in a bit of that gold deficit, despite getting that solo time in the top wave. He has caught back up in experience a little bit, so at least that top wave should be more even as well. And because he doesn't have that teleport, only Luis is going to be isolated there for quite a while, and has to find the advantage over Microthorn, or else he's just not going to be able to be relevant throughout the rest of this game here.
Yeah, it's just a good read coming out from only Luis that he knows he can't get over there, so he might as well just do something, as we saw just now. But he clears out the pink. Good enough. Works out for him. Doesn't take any damage.
Yeah, no, perfectly saved there in bot lane.
But Exact getting headbutt back into them, and now Drizzle is able to push him back into his team. And now Yoctibo is getting very close. The flash coming out from Yoctibo he's able to get one still, even after such a bad engage, or flashing it up for no reason, getting stunned, and now, and the top lane just chunking both throw guard and only Louise a little bit.
And that bot lane fight there, a bit of an odd situation. I mean, Yoctibot could have gotten out, but opted to try and get the kill on Drizzle instead, and that causes him to give a 300 gold bounty over to Jason KB. But honestly, I actually don't think it was that bad a trade, because Vayne is the hyperscaler on their side. If you can get yet another kill and stop the enemy team's hyperscaler, it's kind of worth it, especially since Nico doesn't scale quite as well into the late game either. So
Right. But at the same time, here in top lane, just Noise already going down. Microthorn is gonna play very safe. And he's forced to run away, but will he run away? No, he will not, but at least he tried, you know, he tried.
And you saw how close he was to taking down only Luis as well. But MG exact this game with those Moby boots. He's making tracks around the map here. Once again, we see him top side, and I don't think Vengeful Reapers is expecting to constantly see him up there, because Yoctibot is Vayne. That's usually an AD carry. You need to continue babysitting in lane against an Alistar and Tristana. That's a lot of kill pressure and the range advantage from Tristana, and yet he's somehow able to do that, and Yoctibot still manages to find a CS lead.
Yeah, that's the thing of Thresh, because you really want him to roam around, but you have the Vayne. If you just leave her alone in the lane, you're basically asking her to die straight up. Well, I guess it all works out because she's 4-1. MG exact being 1, 2, and 9. Really solid on this Thresh right now. And only Louise finally picking up the top turret, and I believe that's gonna bring him back into the game in terms of gold count. But I'm not sure how much it will help.
Yeah, I think at this point in time, only Luis just needs to stall Microthorn. That's really all he needs to do. His other lanes are just winning across the board right now. Well, mid lane's fairly even, but...
Oh, that's gonna be a pretty spicy one. The Aftershock already lands, and the explosive charge does max out. Now, he's getting lower and lower, and that's a perfect read onto Echo's E. Unfortunately, he just dies way too soon.
Yeah, and Vengeful Reapers needs to continue making these sort of plays, finding these sort of catches, getting their objectives right now, because they are a little bit behind, and MG Nitro so far has shown no real opportunity for them to come back. So Vengeful Reapers can't wait for mistakes to happen. They need to be the one actively looking for something. We might see something here.
Yeah, as we heard that the flash coming out is from Jason KB, but it wasn't all that much. Now that's gonna be the 1v1 onto Microthorn and only Louise. And now the only difference this time around from the first time, only Louise is the one that gets the trade in his own favor. Now Jason KB is one to fall, and now it goes back in, and only Louise does so much. And Darius is now 3 and 5, but however they could be the steal. Yes, gets a steal, and now there's gonna be a lot of gold gonna be popping back into Yoctibot and a throw guard. And what a turn of events.
When it rains, it pours. It looked so good for Vengeful Reapers for a moment there in that bot lane. When they got that gank off, managed to chase into the mid lane, it looks like they were trying to come back into the game. And next thing we know, they basically have an almost ace here. Only Drizzle left alive. They lost the dragon as well. They're going to lose the mid lane turret, and the top lane inner turret is going to take quite a bit of damage from only Louise as well. And suddenly, MG Nitro finding themselves in almost 8,000 gold lead. It's going to be really hard for Vengeful Reapers to come back into the game, and before I'd said they need to make proactive moves. I think at this point they need to either set up a death bush and catch multiple members out of MG Nitro repeatedly, or they have to wait for MG Nitro to make a huge mistake. Potentially it has to be a really bad push into a turret or Baron. Other than that, they just have to play passively a little bit, try and not die for the next little while, and just farm back up.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, they're definitely just gonna have to Hail Mary the next couple of team fights just to get back into the game and just see where the game goes. It's pretty difficult for them to be back into this game like right now. As we see the gold counter, we see that only Luis is actually now up in gold by let's say 700 gold, somewhere around there. Jarvan around 2k. And you see all the gold in every lane is up in gold. And that's definitely does stack up quite a lot. Now only Louise going on a fight onto Microthorn yet again. Now MG Exact, the only difference is here that MG Exact is here. Microthorn will have to flash out, but how much will it help? Not a lot. It will seem as only Louise will shred him to pieces.
And only Luis didn't even have to burn his flash for that fight here. They can take an early Baron because they've got a Vayne with the Gwynsues and Blade of the Ruined King already complete. That's a ton of damage. You can see how fast it's getting shredded down here. And there's just no response. There's no vision either from Vengeful Reapers. They don't know what's going down.
True, you could say that, but they did see the Vayne and Thresh mid and top, yet there's actually nothing they can do, as we see that Tristana was in the bot lane. You see basically the entire team of Vengeful Reapers in the mid lane, and they had no vision, so it's definitely do or die. They do go in there, and they just choose to go passive instead. And Nico actually, surprisingly, is the one to take out the kill onto a throw guard, but Noise is gonna die here, and that's gonna be so bad.
And that's one of the things, you can't run from a Vayne like that. With the passive, the final hour, she can just chase down targets there as well. So once you get caught, you kind of need to turn and fight. And Noise did a beautiful kill onto Arrow Guards, the fade away with the Chrono Break, but it's just not enough there. Not when you're diving into 4.
Right, that's the thing about Vayne, because you get a couple kills, you snowball, and you basically win the entire game over, and you snowball early on. Then again, you have all of the gears rolling on this team. You have the Renekton that successfully stalled out Darius from coming into this game, snowballing ahead. You have the Jaren that basically popped anyone he can find on the enemy team of Vengeful Reapers, and you have the Thresh, just a little bit of safety for Vayne. And it works out so well for them.
Yeah, and I think this game too, it's kind of a snowball effect that really got away from them. In the pregame, they're in the pick and bans. We were talking about how the composition actually from Vengeful Reapers is a really solid composition, and really should be favored for these mid-game fights, but we can't see that at all because MG Nitro just accelerated the pace of the game so quickly. They kind of just completely skipped past the middle of the game here. When they were in mid-game, Vengeful Reapers was still in their laning phase, and now they're in the late game point. And 7-1-6 Vayne right now. Like that is a late game Vayne, already building her third major item here. Really only needs the 2 to come online as well, and they can dominate everything. They look to pick up the Clout Soul for themselves as well, which will just make it that much harder to run away from the Octibot in these fights.
Yeah, for sure, and I believe that would be a Guardian Angels, if I don't want to be mistaken. But it's definitely, anything can happen, right? That could turn into Bloodthirst, that could turn into Infinity's Edge. A lot of things could happen with that VF sword. Will he go defensively or more damage? I don't know. Could he go for more lifesteal? Possibly. But they do have the Cloud Soul now, so that definitely helps with the final hour. It just runs them down. Basically the entire enemy team of MG Nitro is basically just to run them all down.
Yeah, and we could see the possible final push here because Noise and Microthorn are getting caught out. They're way out of position here, but MG Nitro just gonna back off, and they might just run right into Microthorn here.
But they see Microthorn with the ward, and that nets them another kill. I'm not too sure what Microthorn is doing right now because he doesn't have the damage just to poke anyone out. He should be clearing out for wards to see, and the pop comes from Noise. That is a lot of noise that is in this game, but now he's the missed timing out from Exact rocket jump coming out, and that is a throw coming out from a throw guard. MG Piglet, yes, let's get the shockwave, but won't be doing way too or anything right now, but only Luis comes from the side to see if he could get another one. JD will fall alongside with Jason KB. Now they have to find another pick like that in the next team fight, or this game will be running away
from their or from their hands.
And honestly, despite how bad that fight kind of looked here for Vengeful Reapers, they actually come out ahead by going even in kills if they don't lose their inhibitor right here. And this is why you can't count Vengeful Reapers out. They will continue picking fights that they have no business picking.
Oh,
Like
that
that.
is so strong. Yeah, it's Vengeful Reapers, but however, only Luis is really, really big, but he's not going to be able to survive for much, much longer. As for the rest of the entire team of Vengeful Reapers is finally able to come online now.
And that was huge for them. They picked up a whole bunch of bounties. They picked, I believe it was 600 or 700 gold off Yogg-Bolt, another 600 off Piglet, another 400 off of only Louise. So all in, that's 1,000, 6,000, 700 gold going their way in terms of bonus bounty. Yes, there is still a 8,500 gold lead here for MG Nitro, but if Vengeful Reapers could fire back like that when they were that deep in a deficit, if they can come back a little bit more, they can continue to fight back. And yes, they lost an inhibitor tower, but they didn't lose the inhibitor.
Yeah, the key point of this, MG Zac just getting pulled in, he has to force the flash out. But you have Yogg-Bolt with the Cloud Soul, the final hour, and basically just runs down JD. And wow. Noise just being a little bit too aggressive against Yogg-Bolt, and that is the price he has to pay, as we saw right there.
Yeah, and you can see that Oh wow.
Wow, that is a far knockup, just a throw guard just dragging all the way across the map. Okay, I guess I haven't seen that one before.
Yeah, I mean that damage build coming out from the Black Cleaver with the Warrior's Blade and the Tiamat working quite well actually this game, because he's so far ahead he can just delete targets like that. Drizzle going down. Before that happened, I was just going to say, Noise actually, we can see what he's trying to do. Just destroy Yogg-Bolt right away. And he succeeded last time he did that. And if he does that, they win the fight. So it's kind of worth it just trying to do that and take Yogg-Bolt out of the picture. But if he fails, then this happens. And all of a sudden, they lose a turret, or they lose a person, they lose an inhibitor, they lose the Baron. And the next time they do this, if it happens in the next couple of minutes, they could lose the game.
Right, I think at this point, you just hide in the jungle. And once the fight starts to happen, then you go for the play. If you don't have anyone near you to follow up with your engage and the pick potential that you have, there's basically no point of you trying to go pick onto Vayne. Sure, in that time, you could have profited with Baron. Your inhibitor still could be up, but MG Zac and Yogg-Bolt was in the area, so it was really, really hard for them to try to get Yogg-Bolt in the first place.
Yeah, if it was a 1v1, Noise could definitely have burst him down. There's not a lot of magic resist. We're just starting to see the Aegis there coming out for Yogg-Bolt, potentially still building into that Death Stance despite the decreased efficiency onto range champions here. But before that, Noise could still have burst her down in the 1v1, but there's just so much CC with the Thresh as well.
Oh, wow, that is a lot of burst. Now Noise will be the one to fall. JD gets bursted so fast. And now Yogg-Bolt 11 and 2 just dealing massive amount of damage. Will he even have time to activate? No, he won't, and that's gonna be a triple kill and a cleaner ace.
And that could have been a penta if not for the 2 lost kills there for Yogg-Bolt. We still do have the penta skin raffle going on, so if any team manages to get a penta kill on stream tonight, we will raffle away a mystery skin. Unfortunately, it won't be this one, as game 1 being finished out here by MG Nitro in just under 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's well played by Nitro. They played it so well in the early, mid, and late. And they were just able to play around Vengeful Reapers and their playstyle.
Yeah, and I think if you're the side of Vengeful Reapers right now, there's some changes have to be made, but the question really is, what do you change here? Because I don't think it was so much an issue of picks and bans. Granted, there was a lot of strength here in the picks for MG Nitro in their lanes. The Renekton is strong in lane, but Microthorn seemed to handle it pretty well till the jungle pressure came on. Mid lane, Orianna is a very safe mid laner, but not known to be necessarily the most dominant of laners. So maybe ban out Yachty Vayne, perhaps, because that was picked into that way, yeah, that was picked as a counter to the Tristana and the Alistair as well. So if you want to run that combination, maybe ban out the Vayne, force Yachty onto something with a little less shreddability there.
Yeah, they definitely now need to respect Yaktibot's Vayne. They need to ban out phase one. And sure, they could keep picking Alistar, but how are they gonna counter the other champion that he has in his pool aside from Vayne? That is the real question.
Yeah, and you can see the damage stats here from Vayne. 23, almost 24,000 here. Definitely by far the biggest thing. And you know what? The easiest way is to just ban it, right? Like you do have the ban options there because we did see a Throgar playing really, really well. Despite them banning out his Olaf and Nidalee, he still did really, really well on the Jarvan as well. And honestly, I think the Jarvan probably has a higher impact than the Nidalee here in organized five. So uh, potentially that could be something that they give up instead to ban the Vayne. We'll have to see, but they will have red side, so perhaps they could just leave their picks for a little later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, possibly, but there is a lot of things that could have happened at this point and next point, and yeah. Um, Now they have game one in their pockets. Let's see how they adapt in game two. That is the real question now at this point. And definitely with the lane swap, it definitely missed out a key point of Vengeful Reaper's um playstyle.
Yeah,
And the only time now that you have to see is how they will play this game and how will they execute it for next game.
for sure. So yeah, that's game one done, and this is a best of three. So Vengeful Reapers, with their backs up against the wall right now, cannot afford to lose the next game here, or they lose the series. So we'll have to see if they can come back from a really rough game one here. And with that, we are going to head into an intermission break while we set up for game two. So we'll see all of you in a minute or so.